Okay, lesson 85. Jokes for today. What do you call a snake that is exactly 3.14 meters long? It is a python. What do you call an apple thrown at your face? Fruit punch. And my mom told me to follow my dreams, so I went back to sleep. Today, we're learning about surface area of cylinders and prisms. You learned how to figure out the volume, which is the base times the height. So you figure out the base and then multiply that by the height. Today, you're figuring out the entire area around it, the surface area. Not figuring out the volume, not figuring out the area of just one side or anything, but you're taking a shape such as this paper towel roll here and figuring out how much surface it covers on the top, the bottom, and the entire way around the circle. And we'll figure that out, explain to you how that works. Obviously, you know the thing for area. For a rectangle, it's length times width. For an area, it's side times side, or square, sorry, side times side, things like that. Things that you already learned, we're going to go with that. So, cylinder, example 1. I'm going to jump right into it because all you're doing is just taking information that you know and using it to figure this out. So for example 1, you have a bumper thing here. We just gonna pretend it's a cake of some kind. And you're supposed to figure out what is the surface area of this item. Well, what are the shapes that you have here? If you take these things and took them apart, what kind of shapes would you have? Well, up top you have a circle and you also have a circle on the bottom. So you have 2 circles. Their measurement, their diameter is 4. And then if you take this circle, if you chop it in half, let me see if I can do this. If you just make a cut like right down here and then unfold that, this is the shape that you would get. Pretty much about the length of a paper actual roll here. So it's about this size here. And that, obviously, then you have your length and your width that you can multiply there. So you have 3 shapes, 2 circles and a rectangle. And I just transformed some of these measurements down. So the diameter of the 2 circles is 4. The height of this thing right here is 5. Now, the first thing that you need to do, well, not the first thing necessarily, but something that you have to do is figure out what the length is. This point to this point, what is it? And so if what happened is we cut it here and then we stretched it flat and we took this circle the whole way around and stretched it flat. So what is the whole way around? So if you take a circle here and you go the whole way around it, what is that called? It's circumference. So the length is actually the circumference of the circle. So how do you figure out the circumference? You have to take circumference equals pi times the diameter. So what is the diameter? Diameter is 4, so it's 4 pi. I believe, for example, 1, it just tells you, yeah, just leave it in terms of pi. So don't actually multiply that. So this is the diameter times pi. So 4 pi, the height, the width is 5. So let's jump back over to these circles. The area of a circle, because you're figuring out the surface area, the area of a circle is pi r squared. So what is r is what? R is the radius. So what is the radius of a circle with a diameter of 4? Radius is half the diameter. So the radius is 2. 2 for the radius squared. 4 pi. So the area of circle number 1 is 4 pi. What is the area of circle number 2? It's the exact same thing because they're the same. 4 pi. So there you have 2 shapes. Now for this one, length times width, 5 times 4 pi is, 5 times 4 is 20 pi. That's your answer. No, it's not, because you need to add them together. So you take 20 pi for this shape, 4 pi for this one, 4 pi for that one. So 20 pi plus 4 pi plus 4 pi, you get 28 pi. What's your measurements? It doesn't give you any measurements, but it's units. Units squared. So that is your surface area for this one. if this was inches, then this units would be inches. But that's what that is. So it's pretty much just figuring out pulling the shape apart. That's your first step. Pull it apart and then figure it out based off of the formulas that you already know. So you figure out a cylinder, a prism. So this is a tent. Over here, for example, 2. And if you took a tent as it was, and it was solid sides, and dissected it apart, like you can do this with cereal boxes, any cardboard boxes, you can very easily do this. Just pull them apart and lay them flat. What shape do you get? And if you took this tent, if all the sides were hard, you would get the base, which is a rectangle here. You have 2 triangle ends here that fold down, and then you have 2 sides of the triangle being folded down too. So literally what you need to do is just figure out the area of all, there's 5 shapes here, then add them together. So for shape number 1, for a triangle, the area is 1/2 base times height. So let's just go down here since we have all the measurements here. What is the base? The base is 6. The height is 4. So 6 times 4 is 24, and half of that is 12. So I'll just put 12. 6 times 4 times 1/2 is 12. So that triangle is 12. That means this triangle is the exact same. That is also 12. Now, these rectangles are different shapes. There's 2 of them with a, their width is 5, and there's one with 6. So these 2 will be the same, but this one will be different. One measurement I forgot to move down here is this. It is the height of 7. So 5 times 7, 35. 6 times 7 for the middle one, 42. And 5 times 7, 35, that one. So each shape, you can do this pretty quickly once you pull it apart. Each shape, then you add them together. So start with the 2 triangles. 12 and 12, you get 24. The 2 rectangles, 35 plus 35 is 70, and then a 42. You add these together, you get 6, and 136 units, because they don't give you a measurement, squared for that. That is your surface area. Actually, they give you a measurement of feet. So I'll just change that. 136 feet squared is the surface area, the area of all the outside shapes of that tent. Now, there's one thing that's different that they teach you in this lesson, and that is lateral surface area. So if you look at any building, your house, there is the roof, and there's, if you would pull your house up out of the ground, there'd be a base, or like the concrete in your basement or something, or the first floor, that would be your base. But with lateral surface area, you're talking about everything on a lateral plane. So everything that's on this level. So typically you're talking about outside walls or painting a room. You're not going to paint the floor and the ceiling probably the same color as you were your outside walls. So the lateral surface is typically talking about the outside area, but not including the either bases, not the lower one and not the higher one. So for example, this one right here, the lateral surface area would be just this shape right here, because this is your base. These 2 circles are your base, so you're just looking at the outside surface area. For this one right here, if you would set this tent up, this one's kind of tough to tell because if you would set it upright, the 2 bases would be considered your 2 triangles if it was set upright. But so example 3, you're looking at a barn, and they want to paint the exterior walls of his shed, I guess, not a barn. So if you took, obviously he's not going to paint the roof or like the sides there. So the top part, the roof right here that you can see, you're not going to do anything with. You kind of yank that off, and that leaves you with a shed that has 1, 2, and then the same around. Let me just draw this. Right, so your shed, and he's painting the outside walls. So there's a way you could do this. You could lay it flat. Let me grab my eraser here. If you would lay all these walls flat, you would get a shape roughly like this. Now, you know that your height, based on the drawing, is 7, and the width of the shorter side is 8. This rectangle, so there's 2 8s and there's 2 10s. Now you could go through and go 8 times 7 equals 56. 7 times 10, 70, 56, and 70. And then you have to add them all together. There's another way you can do this, and you can take the entire perimeter. So 8 plus 10 plus 8 plus 10. So that's 18, I think that is 20, 36. All right, so the bases, add them all together, you get 36. 36 times 7, throw that in your calculator, and that will be the same answer as adding all these together, which 36 times 7 would give you 252 feet squared. So now he knows how much paint to buy based on that measurement. And if you add these two together, 140 plus 56 plus 56 gives you, should be the same answer, 252. Yep, so your answer for example 3 is that. So that's all that you do there for that. I am not going to bother doing the practice set today. It's pretty much what we just did here, using different measurements. So I'm not going to bother with the practice set. So enjoy today. Good luck with your homework. Let me know if you have questions. And tomorrow, or Good Friday, you will not have a lesson. So enjoy that.